Edwin, speaking of what went right, what went wrong, you were part of the bigger campaign, no, that basically worked towards a stunning upset for Leni Robredo in 2016 for the vice presidential race. How would you assess naman the 2022 presidential campaign of Vice President Leni Robredo? What went right? What went wrong? Obviously, we saw a huge spark, no, in volunteerism sa mga kakampings, the so-called kakampings, or basta yung mga supporters ni Leni Robredo. I know it's only been less than, wala pang 24 hours since polls closed, but so far, what went right for the campaign, and where did, saan nagkulang or saan naubusan ng oras?
Yung sa akin, very early part of the ano lang pa lang to. But I think it's all a question of logistics, eh. And not to this is not a sa akin, it's really the decision of VP Lenny to declare late. And the difference between declaring late in 2020 in the 2022 elections and the 2016 elections, malaki ang diferensya, no? Remember, si Lenny also declared late in 20, well, not so late, September, she declared in September, 1 month separate lang. The difference there was in 2015, we were the administration party.
Yeah.
We had all the resources, we had the machinery, political machinery. So, and remember, she was just a vice presidential candidate. So she was riding on the coattails of Mar and the Liberal Party and the administration. Here in 2021, when she made the decision, when it was already in October, people were really asking her, friends, allies were asking her, Ma'am, tatakbo ba kayo? And in fact, I spoke to her in July. In all honesty, Lenny did not want to run. Sabi niya, Sek, ayaw kong tumakbo. But there's this call and she needed to see ano ba talaga to and all that. So, and really, it was really the volunteers, those people who wanted her to run. Like in my case, I told her, Ma'am, you are the only one who will carry the legacy of good governance. And I felt that she had a strong leadership, which was not being emphasized in all the promotion materials. No? You saw her response to pandemic. It was all equated to being nanay, very empathetic. But sabi ko, leader yan eh. We should be projecting her as a leader because she is. And in the time of crisis, especially during the COVID pandemic, there's a crisis in the country. There's a crisis in leadership. It appeared a vacuum of leadership. So that was the best time to promote her. And by the way, the leadership equity in June of last year, Lenny was there was no perception of ano bang nagawa niya. Compared to Isko, whose leadership equity was talagang taas because he had Manila to prove that he can do it. In the case of Sara and Marcos, their leadership equity was reflected glory from their fathers.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was only, and Lenny was really talagang mapukulang, nobody knew what she had done despite the fact that she was vice president. So that's one major factor. It's all about logistics, starting late and without the machinery, without the political backing, it was quite difficult.
Yeah.
Buti na lang, there were the volunteers who stepped up. And that's what went right was the volunteers. This is the first time the passion of the volunteers was phenomenal. What they filled, nature abhors a vacuum. It filled the vacuum of machinery, and the surge was there. Unfortunately, the surge happened sometime in February, where you saw passion really brimming up, and people were just spending, collaterals were being done.
Yeah.
The thing that was also, I think, quite late in the game was the messaging. If I recall, Gobyerno Tapat came out sometime in January. So the good side of volunteerism was people were so gung-ho about promoting Lenny. The downside of it, however, was there were so many messages coming from the volunteers. So it was by January where they finally decided on Gobyernong Tapat, Angat Buhay Lahat, and another tagline which is Kulay Rosas ang Bukas. So you have those things coming in late, and unfortunately the question at the end of the campaign, coming around March or April, the question was, do we have time? And unfortunately, kung siguro, kung hindi Mayo ang eleksyon, maiaangat pa yung numbers niya. But unfortunately, we were running against time. Our time was our enemy in this campaign. So I think we came in short. We came up short in the campaign. So that's superficially, those are in my thinking what went wrong. But what went right is something that can move forward beyond elections: the passion,
Yeah.
the civic mindedness, the awareness of revisionism, the awareness against disinformation, what we can do about it.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I think even Vice President Leni Robredo emphasized during her message last night.